So recently, over the past year, I've had some increasing issues with my vision. I have diabetic eye disease from many years with diabetes, but suddenly out of nowhere, it started getting worse and worse and created a bit of a mystery. And while the specific causes of it we seem to have solved, like the actual etiology and the development of it has been really challenging. So in recent months, my vision has gotten worse and worse, and my visual acuity has decreased substantially. I go in monthly to get eye injections in each of my eyes to take medications, but that wasn't working. So I saw my doctor a few months ago, and he said, this is now urgent. You need to consider doing a specific type of surgery, but there's a risk of actually, if you do that surgery, that will cause permanent damage in the central part of your vision. So it's critical that you think clearly about this. So when that happened, I used some of my contacts and managed to get into a retina specialist at one of the top retina centers in the country in pretty short order. I was very privileged to be able to do that. But what I really needed to do for that appointment to go well, and for the doctor to be able to make the right decisions about further imaging and treatment, is to be able to access the images that I had taken at my ophthalmologist every month for more than a year that showed the disease progression and showed the progression of the vision loss and what had been happening in the back of my eyes. When I attempted to do this, I was immediately sent to the medical records office, who promptly told me that I would need to write a check for the time and effort that they would put into getting the images. I need to send them the check via mail. This is a doctor that happily takes credit card for my co-payments.
Wow.
So I would need to send them the check in the mail. I would have to clear, and after the check cleared, they would then have 30 days to get me the images that I needed. The medical records are located about an hour out away from me in a suburb of DC that I'd never been to. The doctor's office is about a 10-minute Uber ride. The images were actually stored at the doctor's office. I knew this. So the doctor would actually have to transport the images from their office to medical records, who would then download them and send them to me.
Wow.
So meanwhile, my appointment my urgent appointment with the new specialist was in 4 days.
Yeah, so 30 days doesn't work for you.
No, it doesn't work. And the thing about it that was really informative to me, this happened to be at a particularly stressful time. Not only was the vision issue stressful, there was a family. My mother was in final weeks of her life, and there was a lot going on with that.
Sure.
I'm on the Health IT Advisory Committee for HHS. We happen to have an in-person high-tech meeting while all of this is happening, and I'm sitting there completely overwhelmed with my vision issues, getting texts from my siblings about my mother. In other words, like living a life of anybody who's faced with an urgent health crisis.
Sure.
But I'm literally in the room with the people who wrote the rules around information blocking and information access, like Mickey Tripathi, the head of ASTP, Steve Posnack, all of the people who have been a part of this process and making it possible. And I'm telling them I can't get access to my images. So I'm like, you should be able to get access to your images. But I mean, I was so overwhelmed that even though I knew the rules and I was with people who knew the rules, it was difficult for me to even think through what is the right question that I need to ask these experts. Later that evening, I happened to have a friend who was also in high tech who has been very involved with this. We were texting in the evening, and she reminded me about information blocking rules. And even though we've been talking about that all day, because of the stress and the challenges and the fear that I was experiencing, I couldn't think my way through it.
So you couldn't connect the dots. That's interesting.
I couldn't connect the dots. I'm like, I know the dots. These are things that I know and have talked about quite a bit.
Stress does interesting things, right?
It does. It makes it difficult to think through and problem solve in surprising ways. Once she prompted me with that, my friend, I went on ChatGPT, found the Code of Federal Regulations, the specific language related to information blocking, and then sent an email to the office manager and medical records office for this ophthalmologist who was preventing me from getting access to my images, and basically said, if you don't get this to me in a timely manner, because these are an electronic format, you're required to get it to me in a timely manner. If you don't do it, I will be filing an information blocking complaint with HHS and with ASTP. And that was the magic word.
And it worked.
It worked. But one thing I realized in the process is that the people in medical records and the office manager had never heard of information blocking. They had no idea what I was talking about. So it really brought home to me sort of the complexity of the issue, not only in, is it difficult for a patient who is in a time of stress to be able to, even somebody who really knows this stuff and is nerdy enough to be on high tech and, speaking and, on the board of Sequoia, even somebody like me in a time of stress can't think through or finds it difficult to think through, what do I need to ask? How do I need to solve this problem when I'm surrounded by the people who wrote the regulations?